Arthritis is a serious condition that plagues more than 54 million adults in the US alone. Now, while this excruciatingly painful condition does not have a cure, there are certain foods that you may have to completely stay away from if you want to keep the condition under control and control the amount of inflammation. Today's video has the top 10 foods you should never touch with a 10-foot pole if you have arthritis. Get ready for this one, because you are most likely not going to see some of them coming. Kicking things off at number 10 is the popular red meat. Red meat is one of the most entries you will find on the list of foods that people with certain conditions must avoid. And one of the major reasons is its fat content. Red meats tend to have extreme levels of saturated fat. Some research has proven that consistent consumption of red meat contributes to higher levels of inflammation in arthritis patients. This, in turn, makes swelling in the joints worse, as well as other symptoms. Whether it is regular beef, pork, veal, lamb, or mutton, all of these are examples of red meat that increase your interleukin-6, homocysteine, and C-reactive protein levels. All of these are elements that are established contributors to inflammation. If you are really worried about healthy options that can be worthy alternatives to this red meat, then you can try chicken, fish, or legumes. These have a lesser bearing on inflammatory conditions. If you find this to be a hard pill to swallow, then our number 1 pick is bound to shake your dietary discipline. For number 9, we have got alcohol. Like red meats, alcohol is yet another item that is dangerous for people with different medical conditions. If you have some form of arthritis, like gout for example, then you may need to steer completely clear of any form of alcohol. Excessive beer consumption has been connected to developing knee and hip osteoarthritis. Furthermore, people who are suffering from gout may experience gout flares as a result of too much alcohol. This extremely unpleasant situation is caused by a pileup of uric acid in the joints. In some cases, even the slightest alcohol consumption can increase gout reactions by up to 41%. The craziest part about the relationship between alcohol and arthritis is that different forms of arthritis may react differently to different forms of alcohol. A perfect example is rheumatoid arthritis and how it is known to flare up whenever patients consume whiskey or beer. But people with some other forms of arthritis may comfortably consume red wine without feeling any negative changes. One more thing to keep in mind is that alcohol does not really go great with the immune system, hence slowing down the typical healing process in the joints. So if you have been diagnosed with arthritis, it will be in your best interest to stay away from the bar counters. Our number 8 pick may be another hard pill to swallow, and it is candies and desserts. Yes, sadly, you may need to completely cut out all those amazingly sweet treats that feel like a rainbow blast in your stomach if you are going to keep your inflammation and arthritis condition under control. These sugary delights can cause inflammation in the joints to become more severe by activating the production of free fatty acids. These fatty acids end up as bad cholesterol that creates more C-reactive proteins that cause inflammation. Furthermore, when suffering from an inflammatory condition like arthritis, you need all the possible nutrients that you can get from whatever you consume. And the added sugars in your candies and desserts just do not offer anything of the sort. These sugars are regarded as empty calories because they offer your body zero nutritional benefits. For arthritis patients, whether it is baked items or processed snacks or those condiments that you just cannot go another day without, all of these things have to be eliminated from your diet. Number 7 is an entry you most likely were not expecting to see today, and that is gluten. Keeping your diet completely gluten-free is one way you can keep your body as far away as possible from inflammation, and not just your joints, but other parts of the body too. This grain protein has been connected to increased inflammation in patients that are suffering from rheumatoid arthritis. Also, another connecting dot to the gluten situation is celiac disease. This autoimmune condition occurs when gluten sets off inflammation in the gut and other parts of the body. Research results have created a connection between celiac disease and rheumatoid arthritis. So if you are trying to dampen the effects of your arthritis symptoms, you should certainly cut down on your gluten intake and see how your body reacts to the changes. Keeping things moving to number 6, we have got processed foods. It may not come as a surprise that processed foods have made it onto this list, and the reasons are not hard to find. Foods that have gone through intense processing have a pretty strong reputation for packing components that are not good for inflammation. Food items like frozen meals, lunch meat, and dearly beloved fast food typically contain refined grains, salts, and the aforementioned added sugars. While these ingredients are great for extending the shelf life of these processed foods as well as keeping their flavor, they are very bad news for arthritis patients. If you make these processed items a consistent part of your diet as an arthritis patient, you may just be exposing yourself also to a higher risk of obesity and insulin resistance. These two make up a very harmful duo that can take your arthritis symptoms from bad to worse very quickly. The next one is somewhat related, but more specific, and you probably did not know it was affecting you negatively. In number 5, it's processed carbohydrates. Carbohydrates too? Well, yes, for arthritis patients. The sad reality is that once grains like white flour and rice go through a certain level of processing, they immediately lose most of their healthy fiber and nutrients that make them good for the body. What is left of these otherwise healthy food items is just regular carbohydrates. On digestion, this simple carbohydrate is eventually turned into glucose. Consistent consumption of these is almost the same as pumping your body with sugar, and with higher blood sugar levels come not so great inflammatory conditions. For the sake of your health, you may just have to cut down on these carbs and get your daily dose of carbs from more complex options like brown rice or other whole grains. This one will probably hit a nerve. Well, you are not going to want to miss our number 1 pick, so stick around, because there is more. Our number 4 pick is going to sting a little, and it is fried foods. Despite how painful it may be to admit, fatty fried foods are not the most healthy things to consume. And when it comes to arthritis, there is no way to sugarcoat just how dangerous it can be for people in this condition. It is common knowledge that most of the fried foods that we love to consume are essentially prepared in oils that are full of fat and omega-6 fatty acids. These fatty components are heavily connected to making arthritis symptoms and inflammation worse. But that is not all. Some fried foods also contain even more ingredients that have a long-standing history of aggravating inflammatory conditions. Both those that have excess salt to breading and, once again, added sugars. These are all recipes for regret if you are an arthritis patient. And it is best to steer clear of oil-fried foods as they are bound to trigger intense inflammatory reactions. But if you absolutely cannot live without fried stuff, the perfect alternative would be to air fry your foods. Introducing the top 3 is an item you were probably hoping we would leave out. Well, in number 3 is beverage with added sugar. Yeah, we are really doubling down on the added sugars, aren't we? Well, the truth is that in the area of industrial food processing, there are just so many ways to access these unnecessary sugars that you most certainly do not need as an arthritis patient. Most of the beverages that you love to consume will now have to be canceled off of your grocery shopping list. Soda, fruit juices, sweet tea, and any form of the sweetened beverage are prepared with a lot more sugar than you need to stay healthy. Some people, despite keeping their sugar-filled drink consumption at a moderate frequency, experience painful inflammatory reactions. One alternative to consider in this case would be to ensure that you opt for the unsweetened variant of whatever drinks you enjoy. On the other hand, it is best to keep all your drinks as close to natural as possible so that you can enjoy all the healthy nutrients that come with the fruits and their fibers. We promise that you will be better at it. Arthritis just seems to be taking the joy out of your diet. Well, number 1 will surely seal that conversation. Just before we get to that, number 2 is excess salt. While the sodium content of salt is an essential part of several body activities, a lot of the meals that we take are probably pumping us with more salt than we need. There is salt in pretty much everything we eat these days, and it is even kept on the dinner table to spray over already cooked meals to your satisfaction. Well, if you happen to be a salty fan and have arthritis, then this is your cue to cut down on the salt intake and keep it at a minimal level. With higher salt consumption comes heightened inflammation as well as a higher likelihood of evolving into rheumatoid arthritis. It is in your best interest to find foods that have little sodium content and, most importantly, no added salts. It may not be the most like-for-like substitution, but you may have to switch your salt seasoning with herbs and spices like garlic powder, oregano, and onion powder. These offer a fresh take on flavor that salt could only dream of while keeping things as healthy as possible. And now for the number one you've been waiting for. We have canned foods. Almost everything is canned these days, so it does not come as a surprise that this may be a difficult one to sell. Apart from the extras that go into canned food, the ease they offer is still unmatched on so many levels. Nonetheless, processed and canned foods traditionally contain some elements and ingredients in excess that are extremely unhealthy for you, especially with arthritis. A good example would be canned fruits that are soaked in syrup. As we mentioned in the section about processing, extra sugar is added to maintain the shelf life of the fruit. Getting that high level of sugar into your system may just counter whatever efforts you may have made to reduce inflammation. Consider canned foods the culmination of everything we have discovered so far. Whether it's added sugars or salts or fats, canned foods have a pretty strong reputation for all of these ingredients. As you now know, all of these are notorious for arthritis symptoms and inflammation. We have a video that talks more about canned foods and the most unhealthy ones to avoid. You can check that out with the link in the description below. With that being said, ease can be fun, but to get the best out of your health, it is best to home cook your meals as often as you can. If you are an arthritis patient, please leave a comment below with methods that you've already tried out and which of the entries you'll be looking to eliminate. And of course, if you found it helpful, be sure to like this video, also subscribe to the channel, and check out other health-related videos. For now, you should check out this video on your screen right now that we're sure you will enjoy. We'll catch you in the next video. See you there.